Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am sharing with you the Glimmer Kit of the month for November 2021, and in this episode I'm going to see about foiling on some different surfaces. So here we go with, can I foil on that? This is the Glimmer Kit of the month for November 2021. It's called Curved Christmas Glimmer Borders. There are 5 glimmer plates and 2 dies, and it comes with a roll of gold hot foil. So pretty. So the first thing I want to see if I can glimmer hot foil on is this piece of window sheet. It's packaging. It's more like cellophane. I have seen this on other videos and I can't believe it. I just have to try it. So I'm going to bring out my quick trimmer and my blade that cuts foil and cut out a large piece of this gold foil that came in my kit of the month. I love that it always comes with a roll of foil. I missed cutting part of that, so I just kind of ripped it. It worked out good. So this piece of cellophane is quite large. I'm going to make a full panel shaker card with this, and the card is going to be sized A7, so a 5x7 card. So I'm really going all out here. I'm going to use all 3 of the borders in this glimmer set, just lining them up, taping them onto the pretty side of my foil, and then onto that cellophane. I have my glimmer hot foil machine there to my right heating up, and it is about ready to go. So I am just going to trim off any excess foil that was hanging off before I put this on my plate. And I am going to push the timer there, and when I put my plates on, or they're like spacer pads, I did use a cardstock shim in between. When that timer goes off, after about a minute, I'm going to pull off that whole entire dock for my Glimmer Hot Foil system and run it through my die machine. The pressure and the heat are what's going to cause the hot foil. So now let's see how this worked out. I try to remove my plates because they're hot with the tape. So just be careful there. They're not, too scorching hot, but it could be uncomfortable if you hold it for a length of time. So there we have it, glimmer hot foiling on some cellophane. I think it's so cool. It is a little more wrinkly, but I'll confess I had to leave this on my machine a little bit longer because I had taken my die machine out of my house and I had to run downstairs to my car and grab it. Who leaves their die machine in the car? I mean, that's like a staple in my house. So I am now cutting some strips of cardstock to go behind my cellophane, and I just used my cellophane as a guide where to line up the die. So there's a die that cuts a straight, not a straight line, it cuts a line in a curve that matches the curve of those Glimmer Hot Foil plates. And then there's also one that creates a scallop. So I'm using the straight one to cut out a green and a red wavy strip that's going to go behind my hot foiling. And that's going to really help it stand out on my card. So there's my green and my red strips. I think they're really cool, just like that. And then I'm going to save those negative pieces to use again. All right, I am going to try this super smooth white cardstock from Wow. White cardstock is tricky with hot foiling. There's a couple things you really want when hot foiling on white cardstock. You want it to be super duper smooth, and you also want it to be somewhat thick. Those 2 things help in hot foiling. So the people at Wow asked if I would want to try out this cardstock for hot foiling, and I was like, yes, because we're always looking for great white cardstock for hot foiling. So let's see how it works. This cardstock is a little thinner than the one I normally use for hot foiling, so I was interested to see how it was going to go. So let's try it out right here, hot foiling Merry Christmas with some gold foil. So I'm just kind of using my strips and my hot foiled piece to make sure I'm getting this where I want, kind of playing around with placement to make sure it's going to all line up and be where I want it to be. So once I have that figured out and arranged, I'll just tape it into place. And you can see I have my paper, then I have my hot foil pretty side up, and then I have my Glimmer hot foil plate face down. Then you put that onto the hot foil system face down, press the timer, and add your spacer pads. Then you just remove the entire dock from the machine once that timer's gone off and run it slowly through your die machine. I do have this sped up a tiny bit, but you do want to run it through slowly so it doesn't jump along the way, and then it could maybe possibly double foil. All right, so I just used the little magnet tool that comes with the Glimmer Hot Foil system to pick that up, and this paper, I can say, wow, it hot foiled really good. So that wow super smooth white cardstock is a good thing for hot foiling on. So now let's put the rest of this card together. We've had success hot foiling on the cellophane and on this new to me super smooth white cardstock. So success so far. I am going to glue down my strips so that they will appear behind that cellophane once I put the entire card together. So I just keep bringing it back in for reference and using liquid glue so I can scoot them if I need to. Next, I'm bringing in this Christmas Traditions paper pad. I'm in love with this holly pattern right here. Love it. I thought I would use it on this card right here, but when I pulled it out, I was like, no, it's not happening. So I decided to pick a different one. I thought this poinsettia piece was very beautiful as well, so I went with that, but don't worry, I'll bring back that piece with the holly on it for card number 2. I'm going to make 3 different cards today, all A7 size. So I'm just gluing that pattern paper to the bottom of a piece of cardstock that is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I'll add my panel to the top of that. And next I want to wrap my piece of cellophane around this panel to create that full panel shaker. But we don't need the corners. That's going to be too much bulk. So I just weighted down my cellophane with this little tray and then cut off those corners. To stick it to your panel, I like to use double-sided adhesive. So I put that on the back and I only removed one side. I'm going to line this up before folding back the sides, and I'm going to fold back on that first side that I removed the backing. And after all my efforts of getting this lined up, it's not perfect. And that's okay. It lines up pretty good. Then I just held it against me to kind of hold it in place while I wrapped around the second side, and then we'll do the bottom. Now, when you create these full panel shaker cards, you don't want it to be so super tight that your shaker elements can't move. Speaking of shaker elements, I am using my current favorite thing. These are micro beads that I have had literally for 100 years. I don't even remember when I bought them, but they've been in my stash, and all of a sudden this year I'm like, what are these crazy awesome beads? I love them so much. I will link some similar that I found on Amazon in the description box below in case you want to try them out. They're so tiny, they're clear, they really look so much like snow and ice. So I put about 5 little Baskin-Robbins size spoonfuls in, and then I sealed the top down. And now I'm just making sure none of my corners have a gap because those micro beads can find their way out of the tiniest opening, and I was good. Plus, doesn't it sound so cool? I love it. All right, so now I wanted this to be really sturdy, so I added some more double-sided tape to the back of this, and I'm going to adhere this to another cardstock panel to really make it nice and sturdy before adding it to my card, and it's going to give it a tiny bit of lift because I used some heavyweight cardstock for this, and I'm adhering it to my 5x7 card. So this card is 7 inches by 10 inches, scored at 5. Now you can hear it. Oh, listen to that. I love it so much. It's kind of like a rain stick, you know? Very satisfying. So that is card number 1. I'm really happy about being able to hot foil on that cellophane. That is so much fun. So watch for cellophane in packaging and save it and hot foil it. And use it for full panel shakers. All right, moving on to card number 2, I am going to hot foil on colored cardstock. There is a lot of question about cardstocks right now and what works best for hot foiling, and so I'm going to use some cardstock from my stash, and I'm going to use red foil on red paper, and let's see how hot foiling on colored cardstock works out. This cardstock, I believe, is about 85 pounds. It is from Spellbinders. They recently changed their cardstock to be a more heavyweight cardstock and different colors. And this is the cardstock they used to carry, and it was by the brand Fun Stamper's Journey. So that's the paper I'm using, although I can't specifically link it for you because they changed their paper, but I have a ton of it, so I'm using it. So that came out really, really nice. I love the tone on tone when hot foiling. I did it to both sides, and remember, this is the piece I saved after cutting out that little wave strip from card number 1. Okay, next, can we hot foil on heat resistant acetate? This is like what you use to make a shaker card, like a traditional shaker card, and you can emboss with heat gun on this. So I thought we better try it on the Glimmer Hot Foil system and see if the same thing is true. Is it heat resistant on the Glimmer system? Because this is going to sit on here for about a minute. Let's see what happened once we ran that through, and it's good. It's really good. I love it. I love that I have more options now to hot foil on. I've been sticking to paper so much, and doing this acetate and that cellophane, oh my gosh, it was really fun, and it opens up so many possibilities. All right, there's that holly paper that I love. I glued that to the center of my 5x7 card, and then I'm going to add the 3 pieces together to create the topper for this card. So I'm just lining things up before I start gluing things down, and the liquid glue is your friend here, because if you have to scoop this around, the glue allows you to do that. So now I have the bottom half done. I can line this up on my card base where it's going to go. It's not being glued down just yet, and then I'll glue on the top piece. And the reason it's not glued down just yet, I wanted to pop this up so there was space between the Merry Christmas sentiment and that busy patterned paper, which will make it a little bit easier to read. I had to trim off just a little bit on the edge to make it straight. I added foam tape to the back and then stuck this down. Oh my gosh, I love the pink and red together. So I wanted to add a little bit more pink. So I'm using the 2 dies from this Glimmer system, and I'm going to create some scalloped wavy border pieces. So I'm just taping the 2 together as close as I can without overlapping the dies. I don't want to ruin them. So I have 2 of those now. I'll glue 1 at the top for that fun border, and then 1 at the bottom, and it really helps frame this and just draw your eye into the center where that sentiment is hot foiled on the acetate. So very cool. Okay, to accent this, I am bringing in the large die of the month for November 2021. It's called the Christmas Foliage Strip and Borders die set. Look at all of those dies, and the fun little poinsettia and holly dies in there make me so happy. This is the card I made with that set. If you haven't seen this video, I will link it for you at the end of this video, and you can click over and watch that. It's such a fun die set, and I can use it with my other cards, and especially the both of these have the wave to them, so you could probably combine those dies with these hot foil plates. That would be really cool. All right, so I'm gluing down those holly and berry pieces, and they are the perfect accent for this card. This one might be my favorite. Okay, let's move on to card number 3. Can we hot foil on patterned paper? This paper is very thin, so let's give it a try. I'm using this red patterned paper from the same pack, and I am going to use red foil. So it's not too busy, it's a tone on tone, so I think it's gonna look pretty cool hot foiled with the red. The thing about this is the paper being so thin, I actually doubled up on my cardstock shims when I ran it through my die machine. I wanted to make sure there was enough pressure there. And yes, it worked, and it worked really lovely. I love it. I got my foil a little bit off on one of the flowers, so it's kind of a half flower, but we'll cover it up. We'll make it work. All right, so I did some green on green hot foiling on cardstock. Again, it worked really well. And I am also now going to foil again on the same paper with a different colored foil, the gold, and I love that two-tone look. So yes, you can foil again on the same piece of paper. It's not going to affect what you already foiled. Now here's a little tip for you. I had trouble getting the foil under this piece for some reason. So what I did is I took that plate and I taped it right to the foil. And then I brought out my scissors and just trimmed this foil to be really close to that plate. And that made it so much easier for me to line it up and get it onto the paper where I wanted it, because I didn't have this giant piece of foil. And this curved shape is funky too. So anyways, that worked really well. I left it just like that and then taped it in place without putting the tape over what I already foiled, because that can dull out the foil you already have on your paper if you have tape on it and then try to remove it. So just avoid putting tape over anything you've already hot foiled. Now you can see here I got a little excess foil. So there is a tip to get rid of that, and that's to use a sanding eraser, just like this. It's from Tombow, and it works really well to get rid of any excess foiling that might occur from my foil was probably a little wrinkled because of how I cut it, so I had a little bit that hung out there. All right, let's put these pieces together. Again, I am creating an A7 size card, gluing all three of these together and creating a multicolored foiled panel. I've got the green, the red, and the gold foil on this card. I think it's so cool to have the different colored foils on one card. Very pretty. All right, to accent this one, I'm bringing back that large die of the month and using the poinsettia dies to create my accent. I think it's such a cool die because the poinsettia has detailing cut into it. This top layer of my poinsettia I die cut from that same patterned paper that I did the red hot foiling on, and it looks really cool as a layer for the poinsettia. I loved this so much I actually added a second flower you'll see here in a moment. I just thought it was really pretty at the bottom, and so I put one at the top, kind of like I did with the holly leaves. Also, I hot foiled a second piece of that patterned paper to add to the inside of this card, and I liked that so much I decided the other cards had such pretty patterned paper, I would add a strip of that to the inside of each of the other cards. So here you can see the second poinsettia I added to the top of this one. And now let's take a look at the insides of these other cards. I love having a little repeat of something from the outside repeated on the inside. So there are my three cards. I love this A7 size for Christmas. It's really a fun size, something a little extra special. And I loved trying out the foil on these other surfaces. It turned out great. I had a really fun time creating these cards and trying new things. So thank you so much for stopping by. If you're interested in more Glimmer Hot foil videos, I'll have that here at the very end. You can watch that playlist and see my different hot foiling videos. And if you're new to it and have any questions, please let me know. I would love to help. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me. I will see you all on the next video. Happy stamping. Bye.